Hey, everybody, welcome in to a Monday evening edition of the Texans Collective, here to talk Texans football with you on a Monday night. Still have a lot to dig into from that Buffalo Bills game last Thursday, some leftovers from that, a look ahead to the Colts, and especially now, not knowing officially, but knowing functionally, it is back to being the CJ Stroud show, especially given the fact that Davis Mills went 3-0 as his replacement. There's a lot to dig into with that as well. So let's get right to it. A reminder to give us a like, give us a subscribe. We always love that. We thank our presenting sponsor, PrizePicks, promo code Texans. If you want to get in on that, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the show. But let's make the introductions here. I'm Sean Pendergast, the one half of Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. weekdays. Next to me is Landry Locker of The Locker Room with Landry Locker, and of course of SNL with Cody Stutes, who's right there below me on the screen. Houston Football with Cody Stutes is where you can find him. And then down diagonal, Caddy Corner, Reggie Atatula in the loop, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sports Radio 610. It's Thanksgiving week, so very happy Thanksgiving to everybody as well. So let's get into it, fellas. The four of us have not had a chance to chop it up collectively amongst the four of us. That huge win over Buffalo on Thursday, biggest win of the year, and I think kind of culminating a 3-game stretch where Davis Mills certainly established that he's a high-functioning backup in the league, the best you can do, 3-0 over that stretch. The biggest thing that stood out to me, especially after the game on Thursday going into Friday, is how quickly the narrative has changed nationally on the Texans, to where you see a lot of people talking about the Texans now. They're the team that nobody wants to play. How far can the defense take the Texans? How much pressure is there now on CJ Stroud? In your guys' mind, what's the biggest leftover? What's the biggest, I guess, in the aftermath of the Buffalo game, the biggest feeling or the biggest things that you guys are seeing?
I think he kind of dodged a bullet, because I think that an elite defensive effort was almost wasted by the offense, and I think that's something that's going to have to pick up. That was my biggest takeaway, is that the defense was able to win a football game for you, and they were going against the special teams and they were going against the offense specifically in the second half. So that's really kind of where I'm at. It feels like we're kind of where we were at the end of last season, where you think you're good enough to perhaps get into the playoffs, but the offense has to be a lot better, which is why they made the changes that they did. So that's kind of how I looked at that game. I was very pleasantly pleased with D'Amico Ryans and how he talked about the offense today, because I think it's time to take the kitty gloves off and see what they're made of. And I think it's good that they got an opportunity now to get back in the division race. But the offense is going to have to be better, because I feel like they basically did a group project and one person contributed and 3 people didn't show up and they still got an A. And I'm a petty person, to where when I was in college, if I did a group project and I did all the work and there were 3 jackasses that got A's, I was a little bit upset with them regardless of what the grade was. So that's just kind of how I looked at what we saw on Thursday.
I'm glad. I thought you were going to say that you would go snitch about how nobody else did the work. I'm glad to know that. I think that you cover some of the good things, some of that within that. I think one of the things that I was encouraged by in a weird way was it felt like a sink or swim game for Jaden Higgins. It felt like they were like, hey, man, especially because of the way that the defense is playing this, we're going to give you a whole bunch of a run. And especially in the red zone, we are going to see how much of an answer you can be for us in this way. And I don't think that he aced it by any means, but I thought there was positive progression to the point where I was like, okay, this is the thing that you brought in Jaden Higgins for, was to be some level of foil to Nico Collins. And it looks like there might be a little something there. Like, does that develop fast enough for you to have something that is a real threat going through the rest of the season? Like, I thought that was kind of an interesting development to the point that Landry makes, which is the offense clearly didn't do enough. I don't know that you can depend on the run game in the way that it happened in this game. So did you find something, or did you maybe start developing something that can be a boost when you get your better quarterback back on the field, and that can maybe help you that side of the football produce a little bit more?
It was a great job by Davis Mills to turn this thing over to CJ Stroud with 3 straight wins and in a good spot. And I just love knowing that this defense creates a very solid floor and a very clear ceiling of you're in every game when they're playing really well. It's just along the lines of what Landry said. I just worry that the offense is that contractor that's going to come in and destroy so much that the defense has put together and built with this Texans team. So it's got to be better on offense. It's got to be better from a consistency standpoint. And they have to go out there and give this defense a fighting chance to close out games and to take care of business, because they did almost nothing in the second half, and the defense still was able to get it done and closed out the game. And we understand where this defense can go and what level of talent they are, but you've got to see more from this offense, and you've got to get more out of this offense. And hopefully CJ Stroud provides that coming back after this Buffalo game.
Do you guys take anything away from the offensive line not giving up any sacks in that game that encourage you that now that CJ is coming back, that he'll be able to take advantage of? Because I'm with you. The offense, especially, I mean, Davis did, for a backup quarterback, he's being graded on a curve, obviously. You got your money's worth from Davis Mills. He was the steward of 3 wins in a row, and it felt like he had like one good quarter in each game. Like it wasn't bell to bell good. But he had one, he did enough in each of these games to win the games, especially in the Buffalo game where he's 3 for 12 or something like that to start the game. I was almost keeping, Reggie knows, I was keeping a list of, okay, these are the throws that I think CJ would have made in this situation. Like the one, not the one that Schultz bobbled, but the one earlier in the game where Schultz was kind of spaced in between a couple defenders, and CJ loves making that throw like back across, and I thought he would have dropped that in the bucket. Obviously, there were a couple to Higgins that I think that would have been completions with CJ Stroud. Are you guys encouraged at all that the offensive line seems to be protecting much better this year? And did you see things that, okay, hey, it was Davis. If CJ's in this situation, it would be better? Or were there things that Davis was doing that would, that maybe he might even do better than CJ?
Well, first of all, Davis Mills lied to me last week because he said he wasn't nervous for this game. He was clearly a little bit nervous, and understandably so. It was by far the biggest football game of his entire career. So it felt like he was missing some throws. I can't unequivocally say, yes, CJ Stroud would make those throws, because I felt like CJ was missing some of those throws early in the year, if I'm being completely honest. I do think there's potential for CJ to make more plays. I'm hesitant to say and just simplify, well, the offensive line was better for Davis Mills, so does that happen with CJ Stroud? Because all I've heard is, there's more pre-snap responsibility. The quarterback helps with the protection. So I don't know. I will say I do like personnel-wise. I do like what this offensive line looks like, and it feels like they've perhaps found their best 5. So we all know CJ Stroud's better than Davis Mills. We all know even if CJ Stroud's getting sacked more than Davis Mills, there's times where he can make plays that are just so phenomenal that it's worth taking a couple sacks or whatever. But I'm a little bit hesitant to just say, well, they didn't allow sacks for Davis, so they're not going to allow sacks for CJ.
Yeah, I think actually, yeah, I am encouraged because they found 5 that seems to logically, from an outside looking in, look like a best 5. Like I am encouraged by that. And one of the things, because I'm a sicko, like I've just been, there's times in my free time, I'll just hop on FTN and just kind of dig into some numbers. There's a lot of things, right, that you can look at in various different ways, no matter how you cut it. CJ Stroud, even with the way that the season started and it was less than stellar, better than Davis Mills, man. And even including like quarterback fault sacks, Davis Mills' percentage is higher. Like I know that at times you see CJ and you go, that was a bad sack to be taken. Davis had a couple of those in there, and not to like blame Davis, but just to say, if you can get this offensive line to protect Davis to have no sacks against a Buffalo Bills front line that is maybe not the best, but also is not the worst by any means, I've got very good hope that CJ Stroud can come do that, assuming that he comes in and has like a willingness to operate in the way that the offense wants to operate. And then just if he continues to trust the process, like, because clearly Davis had no willingness or no reason to go outside of the process. I think CJ at times, maybe the death by 1,000 cuts can kind of indicate that at times he might have some questions as to what's happening. If he comes in and embraces it, we know he has the talent, the capability, the mobility to operate this well, step up to the line, be able to handle this. And it should go probably about as well, if not better, under CJ.
And one of the things that I hope CJ carries over from Davis Mills is just not panicking when there is a little bit of heat, when there is a little bit of pressure. With Davis Mills, he does not let one failed throw affect another one, even though it looked like that might have been the case early on in Buffalo. But then he got going at one of the better quarters the quarterbacks had all season long with that second quarter against the Bills. Like, yeah, this offensive line, I like this crew. I hope they keep this crew out there for as long as they can. It was a shuffle that I was actually intrigued to see, not one of those like, what the hell are they doing shuffles where it was like, oh, City So's on the field. Oh, what the hell are they doing? Oh, Laken Tomlinson's back starting. What the hell are they doing? Like, no, I was like, okay, Titus at left guard. Interesting. Ed Ingram at right guard. Okay, well, he's probably been the best right guard for you. Oh, Trent Brown at right tackle. He's a mountain of a man. He actually gets some stuff done. So, yeah, I like that offensive line combination, and I hope that when CJ gets in there, one of the things that he freaked out and panicked about playing football was he couldn't trust the offensive line. Hopefully he could trust that offensive line and they could settle down some of the happy feet that we've seen this season from CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I hope I like this combination. I want it to work. It's the best they can put out there right now. Obviously there's still I don't think it's the improvement's going to come hopefully in the offseason if they spend money or draft picks. The crazy thing about it is Jake Andrews is your starting center. You picked him up off the street, and there were two guys you drafted, one with a 2nd round pick and one with a 6th round pick to play center. And then your right tackle is Trent Brown on a veteran minimum deal, and you used a 2nd round pick on Blake Fisher. It's just they've arrived at something that seems to be working okay. It's working much better than what they had out there last year. Ironically, that unit last year had a Pro Bowl left tackle. This is working much better, but there is part of me that watches when I watch that unit out there, and as long as they're winning games, I don't really give a shit. But if they start losing again, I'm gonna get angry about the fact that Jake Andrews, like two guys you basically picked up at the bus stop, are playing center and right tackle for you, and you spent high draft capital at those two positions.
You think Trent Brown fits on a bus? I don't know about that.
He is the bus.
Yeah.
He is the bus. That is a mountain of a man. But shut Joey Bosa down, if you believe the advanced stats.
The artist formerly known as Joey Bosa. It's not like he's taken out
Bosa on the back of his jersey, all right?
Yeah. I'm not so sure that Nick Bosa with his banged up knee couldn't have gone out there and given a better game.
His name's Joey Bosa. I saw it on his birth certificate. So
you out here checking birth certificates?
Yeah, where'd you get his birth certificate at?
That's truepeoplesearch.com. So yeah, no, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. Landry, that had to be a dream game for you because you got the not just Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. getting sacks in the same game, multiple sacks in the same game.
8-2 now when that happens, and it's amazing when both these guys eat, and it's kind of a recipe for their success. Danielle Hunter, we talk about CJ being out. Danielle Hunter has 7 sacks in the 3 wins that they've had, and I kind of roll my eyes when I hear Matt Burke say, well, it's not all about sacks. Yeah, when they're sacking the quarterback, it seems like there's better. The whole team plays better, and it's nice to see them both get home. I think this has been a really good stretch for Will Anderson. I think it's been a really good stretch for Danielle Hunter. And yeah, when they both eat, they win. Like, unless something crazy happens, like the 2 times they've lost, one of them was when Baker Mayfield got loose on a 4th and 14 to win the game, and the other one was Green Bay, where Bobby Slowick just completely wet the bed. When there's very good chances that when they both eat, when they both get sacks, they're going to win. And I think it's almost, especially given what we know about the offense, it's almost like the recipe for success with this team.
Yeah, I think also one of the things with that is the coverage sacks that allowed this to happen. I think there's also part of what helped this happen is that you have Joe Brady with an insistence upon having that man drop back there and do that, and then the Superman complex, or as I like to call it sometimes, the bozo gene that hits Josh Allen sometimes, and feeling that he needs to stay up there and try and do this. Like, he has one of the longest times to throw in the league, and some of that is what allows Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, after that first displacement of him, to go back and pull him down. But the fact that it was able to happen and it came all together, that's fantastic. I'd be interested to see how other teams and maybe coordinators who are a little bit more savvy than Joe Brady handle that. But yes, the opportunity that it both comes together, you see how explosive it can be. So I was very happy to see it.
It's a great job by D'Amico Ryans too, just to have the game plan that he had and have those guys ready on that short week for Josh Allen. And yet again, Allen in a blender versus D'Amico Ryans coach defense. So that's 2 feathers that D'Amico Ryans can put in his cap as the defensive mastermind for this team. And something we've seen a couple of times in the past 2 weeks is defenders actually getting their hands up and batting passes down, which not everybody's going to give you 3-4 seconds to go back there and go get the quarterback. A lot of teams here down the stretch are going to try to get rid of that rock fast, and to finally see that defense start throwing their big paws up and start knocking the ball down. Certainly a lot with Cam Moore, but saw it against Josh Allen as well. That's a good element to see, because I got to imagine when you see a performance like what the Texans had going into the next game, when it's a great offensive mind like Shane Steichen, he's probably telling Daniel Jones, you can't hold on to this thing or they're going to get you. So get rid of the rock, and you got to get that defense. You got to get those hands up, get that defense rolling early to kind of disrupt the opposing offense.
Speaking of throwing paws up, can I ask you guys if you've experienced this the same way that I feel like I have? It feels like Azeez Al-Shaair has been significantly better in coverage than he had previously been. Like he's obviously contributed to interceptions in this game and previous games. Like it feels like he has been significantly better in that middle, which is part of what has helped them be really good.
He said that was a point of emphasis, and it was unsolicited. I asked D'Amico about it, and I asked him about it. I mean, let's be honest. That game against Travis Kelce was bad. Travis Kelce looked washed pretty much all last year, except when he was going against the Texans in the playoffs. Big part of that was both your nickels were out in Petrie and Ward, and Azeez was probably asked to do a little bit more. But that was a point of emphasis. You saw it in camp. And it has been better. I will say, as Cody has so astutely pointed out, they're going to be facing some pretty effing good tight ends in the next few weeks. So it's not going to get any easier, but that was an emphasis for Azeez, given the way that the season ended. And D'Amico had brought it up as well.
In West Virginia, I mean, I probably told this story when we mentioned Azeez before, but in West Virginia, I was doing a one-on-one. We all were after practice every day. And one day it was Azeez. And I had to wait like an hour because he was out there in the middle of the field doing a drill where he had his back to the guy throwing him the ball, and he had to turn after the ball was released. So he's working on his hands. Obviously, there's more that goes into coverage than just his hands. But to back up what Landry was saying, like he was working on every aspect of that in training camp, not just the film work and the coverage itself. But he dropped a couple against Josh Allen last year in week 5 when Josh Allen had 0 interceptions going into that game. Azeez Al-Shaair could have had a couple of them. I think the other big thing too is this team's gotten way better this year defensively against play action. They're not nearly as overly swarmy on play action as they were. You know, Seth and I call it swarm run amok when they overplay on things. That particular play, the Kalen Bullock interception, Seth actually pointed this out in a video on Twitter. Josh Allen, runs a play fake there, and the Texans defense is like, whatever. The linebackers all literally stayed at the level they were at, and that's how Azeez was able to get his hands up and get his hands on the ball, and then in steps Kalen Bullock and gets what probably should have been a pick 6 if Derek Barnett didn't shove that lineman to the ground. But there are certain things. They were a good defense last year, but there are certain things that they didn't do well. That was a big reason they gave up so many big plays last year, is they bite on play action all the time. They got way better at that. They don't give up nearly as many big plays. They gave up a couple in the game to Khalil Shakir, but generally speaking, over the aggregate of the year, they've gotten much better with that.
Yeah, they have. And I just want to say this is going to be their biggest challenges coming up in that area. So it's been good, but the toughest is definitely ahead for them, and it starts this week. I think this is. I don't know if we want to jump to the Colts or not, but I think this is the most underrated group of offensive weapons that they're going to face. I know everybody talks about Jonathan Taylor, but I think from a receiver standpoint, from a tight end standpoint, I don't know that there's – I mean, there's a lot of challenges there for them. So it will be – hopefully that strength travels to Indianapolis, because it's going to be tough. And then you got the Chiefs, and – you're going to have the Colts again. It's going to be a tough stretch for them.
Well, to your point on the tight ends, and we'll get to the Colts. I want to hit CJ here, but to your point on the tight ends, Tyler Warren, Travis Kelce, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, the next 4 games, right? That's
and then the Chargers rookies
row.
The Chargers rookie's good, and then you get Warren again.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that threat's there every game the rest of the year, pretty much.
Yeah, so let's see how good Azeez's coverage has gotten.
Well, let's see. Let's see if the Greenbrier worked for him. It looks like CJ Stroud set to return. He couldn't return from protocol today because there was no practice. He's got to come back. What does he need? One more practice? What's the? You guys are over there in the building. I'm sure that was a chatter amongst all the media there.
One more, he's back. Like, they just can't say it. There's like strict rules where coaches, you can't predict or anticipate guys returning before they're out of protocol. So that's why it was a little bit awkward for D'Amico, but I mean, he's back. He'll clear. Even being on the sidelines is kind of a thing, like where it's a little bit more of a step in the process. That's why we saw Titus Howard 2 games ago, and then we saw him back. So he's going to be back. It's just a matter of them clearing the protocol and figuring that out. So he's definitely back. It's just coaches are in weird positions when you ask them that when they can't really say it.
Yeah, that's a few $1,000s out of D'Amico's pocketbook if he answers that the wrong way. So
yeah,
he strikes me as cheap too. I don't think D'Amico's way. I bet D'Amico's a little bit. I bet D'Amico's a little bit cheap too.
He has had plenty of opportunities in his head coach tenure to rip into some zebras, and he has avoided it and been very clear that he's avoiding it. And I think that's a direct correlation to the amount of money that might come out of his paycheck if he does.
So you think there's a better chance that D'Amico Ryans is cheap, not classy? Like it's you think it's the money that's keeping him from ripping into the referees.
Where you say cheap, I say discipline, guys. I feel like that's what he's trying to instill with his fellas. Be disciplined, right? There you go.
Yeah,
we can go there.
He's executing in a manner that keeps his paycheck whole.
That's right.
Yeah. That when CJ came back from concussions, or his concussion, I should say, in 2023, it was in week 17. They played Tennessee. They won 26-3. He didn't have a great game, but he was fine. I mean, they won in a blowout. They kicked 4 field goals in that game, and they had a defensive touchdown. Then I would submit the next 2 games after that, the Indianapolis game, which was essentially a playoff game, and then the actual playoff game against Cleveland were probably 2 of the best 5 or 6 games he's had as a pro. Do we read anything into that? Or, I mean, I don't think there's any neurologists on this here stream that we're doing here, but are we encouraged by the fact that when he came back from the concussions the last time, he played some of his best football?
I don't know, man. I feel like coming back from 1 and then coming back from 2, just I mentally I can't really say how that makes someone feel. Like I maybe there's some sort of trend there. I think the one thing I will take from it is that the rest was more, or at least similar to where you can figure that out. But I don't know if it's like some sort of trend or anything like that. And I also don't know what he's going to be like mentally when he goes out there now. I mean, this is 2 concussions now, and he was already kind of hesitant to run. So I don't look at that as like any sort of trend that I point to and say, well, he can piggyback off this. But I am glad he got 4 weeks this time after 3 weeks last.
Yeah, I can give you a strong, I don't know. Like that's about what I got for you is that I think Landry hits it right there. I don't know how the symptoms hit for him. I don't know if the symptoms were the same as that time. Right. Like, I don't know. It's a different circumstance when you talk about the system that he's running, I guess, in theory, more cerebral than that time. So does that factor in? I mean, are we even going to talk about the competition that he's facing? That how changes that? Like, I have no idea. You just hope that's the thing that I've been hoping on is that, him sitting back, getting to watch this system be executed from a different vantage point gives him a little bit more insight into what he's doing. And that gives him an opportunity to perform better. Like, that's all I'm working off of right now.
That's part of my hope, too, is the learn from Davis. Not super dissimilar, not totally the same from 2014. Fitzpatrick's playing. They bench Fitzpatrick. And then Ryan Mallett, who had been in the system, runs it for 2 games. He ultimately gets hurt. They put Fitzpatrick back in. What does Fitzy do right when he gets back in there after watching the guy run it the way it's supposed to run? He had like 6 touchdowns against Tennessee, like when he got back in there. I hope there's something for CJ Stroud to have picked up from Davis Mills, watching and observing and picking up the film and watching it and going back and paying attention to it with the team. I'm not so much worried about the between the ears, the concussion worry, if you will. Is if I'm CJ Stroud, I'm looking at his next 6 games, there's some big money in store for me if I take care of business in these next 6 games. I go out there and I ball out in the next 6 games. Whew, big payday coming my way.
Yeah, I think in 2023 when he got hurt, it was week 14. So this was week 9. So that was behind an offensive line. It wasn't as bad as the 2024 offensive line, but they weren't protecting him as well as he's been protected this year so far. So there was probably an element back in 2023 where his body actually got to get a little bit of he's sitting off to the side. So some other things got to heal up a little bit while he's in the concussion protocol. I don't know if that matters as much. Landry, as you point out, it was an extra week this time around. I'm with you guys. I hope that there were certain things he was watching, certain things that maybe that Davis, as a veteran guy or somebody who's been in the system before, was doing better in terms of setting protections, using motion, whatever it may be. I'm hoping that, the Texans seem to have figured some things out in the red zone a little bit, more so than when CJ went out. So maybe there's something about that. I do wonder, he was starting to use his legs a whole lot more since the postseason last year, and it had actually become a nice weapon for him. It had become a way to move the chains a little bit. There's a few plays that he had where I think we were all like, wow, didn't know he had that extra gear, that kind of thing. I mean, some of the bigger plays he's made. I mean, hell, one of the biggest plays he made in that playoff game against the Chargers was with his legs. It was almost like he discovered some sort of magic trick and he started using it a whole lot more. I like him getting hurt on that slide, notwithstanding. I like the way he had been using his legs. I think he'd largely been pretty good in terms of decision-making as to when to do that. I'm hopeful that this injury doesn't curtail that at all, because it's the offensive line has improved, but I don't think it's improved to the point where he should feel like he can sit back there. He's not going to need to use his legs at some point.
Yeah, he needs to use them, and he just needs to get down. That was it wasn't a smooth slide. He talked about how he'd learned to slide this offseason, so he needs to use the legs, and he just needs to get down. He needs to protect himself. But they definitely need that element. They need all they can get with this offense, and we'll see what it looks like. I mean, I don't want to say this is like a make or break type of game, but if you lose this, you're not winning the division. And unfortunately for them, they didn't get any help this weekend in the AFC wild card picture. It really would have been better for Kansas City to lose that game. But that's just kind of where they are. So there is no to go back to what you said, Sean, about him coming back last time. I think you can kind of feel it out against the Titans. This is not a feel out situation against the Colts or anything.
Yep.
It's a big one. So we'll see how it handles it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, you got to hope that the familiarity of knowing some of those Colts players and what happens there helps you with the uptick there, though. But yeah, you're right. It's got to be. I think the coaching point can't be don't use your legs. The coaching point's just got to be use your legs, don't use your body per se. I always think back to like Lamar Jackson coming in there and being like, oh, he's gonna get hurt, and he has just this uncanny ability to just like get hit good. You know what I mean? Like he gets hit, but he never gets hit hard, so to say. And it's not something that you're going to import to CJ per se, but like the general idea of, hey man, you can use your legs and not take the hits, right? And if that is being a little bit more conservative and going ahead and sliding early or getting yourself taking that angle slightly away from that contact, I think that's what it's got to be. But yeah, absolutely, the legs are going to be necessary. I think that is one of the advantages that you have in having CJ over Davis Mills, right? Is the ability to create something else against that defense with his legs, right? They have to guard 11 in those circumstances. So no, he absolutely needs to utilize that. You got to use all your weapons available to you. And yeah, I'm with you, Landry, watching that. I very much I would have preferred, I understand Kansas City winning there is not necessarily what you wanted. That's not what I wanted, because I think the wild card is probably more viable, but now you're locked into the space where, hey, try and go and win that division, but you got to get this win versus the Colts if you want an opportunity to do that.
Did you guys were at the press conference today? I'm curious, at the very beginning, when D'Amico addressed, CJ and Jalen Petrie both still in concussion protocol, and when CJ's back, he's going to be our starting quarterback. Was that actually part of the question, or did D'Amico voluntarily offer up that he's the starting quarterback?
Yeah, the question was, is CJ your starting quarterback this week?
Okay, so it was asked. Okay.
Yeah, that was the question. Christy Regan asked, is CJ your starter this week? So that was where he. Okay.
I'm like, God, is D'Amico spending time in the same horrible, nefarious corners of Twitter that we are, seeing these
Haven't been
this
there.
vocal minority of dipshits that are campaigning for Davis
Ooh.
Mills.
I haven't been there. I haven't been in that corner. I haven't
Good,
seen
man.
it.
I know. Yeah, like the algorithm's been pretty kind to me, but boy, there's certain people I talk to that they talk about it like these Davis Mills people are running up onto their front lawns with big sharp objects like Game of Thrones or something. It's I'm like, no, I think it's just like 5 people who
They exist. They
Yeah,
exist.
they exist. No,
I'm not going to say that they're
not
like
a
hey,
boogeyman.
there's
Yeah.
not a giant horde of them. They exist. They exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. I wonder what color the sky is in their world. That's crazy.
I don't know, but to bring up Lamar Jackson way too many times on this podcast, this is one thing that I would always shout out, like Eric DeCosta and the Ravens. They got themselves a black up. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why teams do that. Is they get themselves a black quarterback on the backside so that if that is a factor and people calling for the backup as opposed to the starter, take that right out of there. Yeah, man. Like, look, and I'm happy to have Davis Mills. Davis Mills comes in with a level of veteran savvy, and he was able to get you three victories by just doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I will say we would avoid ourselves a little bit of a headache if there was a black up.
Fair enough. Yeah. Maybe Tyrod Taylor can come back at some point. Maybe
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm good.
And then you got Davis Mills, who's like the whitest guy of all time.
Davis could be
He's white. He's super white.
Davis could be the backup as long as Davis wants to be the backup. That's
If he keeps winning games, hell yeah.
I ain't mad at it. I'm just saying
yeah.
that is one of the slight things with Davis Mills as opposed to a black up.
Yep. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Colts and the AFC and how things are unfolding here. I was thinking about this today. The schedule so far this year has been obviously really tough for the Texans. I think the combined record of the 5 teams they've lost to is 39-16, and they've only lost by a combined total of 24 points. So this is a super competitive football team. Cody, you put it best, I thought earlier, where the defense provides a really high floor for this team. Like you see some of these scores 40-9, this and like Carolina tonight 6-5. They're on Monday Night Football. They lost the game 40-9 a couple of weeks ago. Like I don't think the Texans are going to lose the game 40-9. Maybe, but who knows? I'm with you. I think the defense provides a high floor. I also think the schedule has been brutal for the first 10 or 11 games. You get Buffalo you get to stay home on Thursday Night Football. I think that helps. That's number one. It eases up in the last month of the season here. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but 3 out of the last 4 are at home, and 2 of them are against teams that seem to be getting ready to go to Cancun. The biggest thing to me is, especially looking at how Daniel Jones has started to play over these last 3 games. I mean, this offense is not the machine that it was for the first 8 or 9 games of the year, where we would be sitting there at NRG Stadium and we'd all be sitting there in the press box, and I'm, looking at our laptops. Like, Colts scored again. It felt like they scored every 5 minutes. Daniel Jones has started to do some more Daniel Jonesian things over the last few weeks. How big is it in your guys' mind that the Texans are catching the Colts both times here at this chunk of the season, as opposed to having caught them in, say, the first 8 to 10 weeks?
I would say that they're lucky that the Texans are as fortunate as anything, because I think if they played the Colts the 2 times they played the Jags, I think there's a chance they lose them both with the way the Colts are playing. So yeah, I would agree with that. I don't look at the loss to the Chiefs and say that I feel any worse about the Colts. I do think that it's probably like something teachable, but I do agree with you. They're very fortunate to get the Colts now as opposed to early on, but I really don't know how I feel about the Texans offense at this point. So that's kind of where it is. But yeah, 100%. If they played them earlier in the year, I don't think that too many people would think that the Texans would have gotten the best of them.
I'm actually very fond of it, because I think that the Chiefs did give you a little bit of a blueprint, particularly defensively, in that. And it's not wild to have imagined this. I think we all could have said this, right? Daniel Jones, with the buttressing of a good run game and obviously the weapons that he has available to him, is what makes him successful. The Chiefs were like, hey, bleep all that first down run stuff. It's dead. And then once you end up with that in the case, he had to be in some circumstances that were not advantageous. And you see him kind of, fall away a little bit. I think that is something that's going to be very interesting to be able to try and replicate to some degree. I'm intrigued to see how the Texans are capable of doing it, because at times I am intrigued. I'm interested in them leaning forward into trying to stop the run while also keeping track of all of the people that'll be running around downfield at times. And then we also talked about their discipline in play action. Like all those things kind of come together, especially once that becomes a point of focus. I think that was one of the things that was wild about the Monday night game, is that you could see them kind of leaning forward, and then that kind of ended up being a whole S show of sorts. So I do think that that'll be interesting to see, but I do think that Kansas City has also shown you not just that in theory this is something that you could do, but in practice it is. So I appreciate the fact that you're happening upon them at this time.
It helps the defense because it gives you a lot more of, oh, this has not worked for them, force them into this situation, make them be in a tough spot from the way that they operate their offense. It doesn't help. I mean, you could play them at the end of the year, the beginning of the year right now. You know, the offense has its questions. I guess you get a tiny bit of a break because there's no DeForest Buckner, and I feel like, you know, regardless of who the interior guys are, he'd be having a big day. So there's no DeForest Buckner in that. But I tell you what, Grover Stewart against a much better interior than you have yesterday looked like a pretty nasty individual that you have to prepare for. And they seem to be a little bit better defense from a pass rush standpoint than they were, you know, earlier in the year, and then even from last year's standpoint when they were a little disappointing as a defense. So it helps the Texans defense because there's more on Daniel Jones with the Colts, so you can prepare for it. And, you know, with a couple extra days to put it together, I mean, D'Amico Ryans, we say short week, but D'Amico Ryans is thinking about Josh Allen a week ahead. You know, he's not just, we finished up the Titans game, let's go get ready for Josh Allen. That's not what he's doing. You know, but with 10 days to get ready for Daniel Jones coming off of that short week and that win against Buffalo, you got to imagine D'Amico Ryans got a pretty good setup for his defense for Daniel Jones. I just don't know if Nick Caley with 10 days is, you know, what's he done with the crayons in that time?
The crayons.
He can't use pens?
Nah, he's got those erasable markers. I wouldn't even give him a crown. He's got the erasable ones that only work on the paper.
To your point about Taylor, 16 carries, 58 yards. He had 27 yards on one carry. So other than that one long run, he's averaging 2 yards a carry. And that did seem to be like, that's the head of the snake with this whole thing. If Jonathan Taylor doesn't get out of first gear, that's the way to shut them down. There's some matchups in this game I'm super excited about. Like, I want Nico Collins to make the entire city of Indianapolis feel really shitty about the Sauce Gardner trade. That would be awesome if we came out of that game with, you know, Nico, because Nico's had some big games against the Colts in that stadium. In that state, they played. CJ Stroud's played 2 games in that stadium, and he's played really well in both of those games.
Well, and I also like that there's a Sauce Stingley like tangible look at thing that we've been talking about for 4 years now. We get to look at that a couple of times.
Twice a year.
Yep, that's a good matchup. I think this is the best AFC South team that D'Amico Ryans has faced in his 3 years. I don't even think it's close. Like, I don't even think you can bring anyone to the ring against this. This is by far and away the best AFC South team that they've faced. I think there's that. Maybe I like Tyler Warren too much. I just think Tyler Warren is just a physically imposing freak show of a football player. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what that looks like, whether it's Petrie, whether it's the linebackers. That's going to be a hell of a matchup. I feel like D'Amico and Jonathan Taylor, obviously they've had back and forths with the defense. That's going to be, it's going to be, there's a lot of really, really intriguing matchups here. I'm with you, Sean, but the thing that I like is that we get to watch, and they're not on the field at the same time, the Sauce and Stingley stuff. We get to see it. And I'm actually glad that Sauce Gardner's on a good team to where we can actually like see him on somewhat of a big stage too. So that excites me a lot. The fact that we get to see those two.
Yeah. You're right. Just seeing Nico, Sauce, like that's going to deliver, especially if we get more man. It seemed like the Colts were willing to kind of put him on an island. So yeah, go ahead and do that for me, because it felt like the Bills weren't willing to do that. The Bills were like, hey, we're shading over there. Go ahead and put a Sauce out there and see what happens, because I talked about it. I love seeing Higgins get more shine and opportunity to develop him. Ain't no develop it with Nico. He here. So if you want to let him go one-on-one, we can do that. But yeah, I'm going to be very simple. One of the matchups I want to see is I want to see this reconstructed offensive line. I want to see if this 5 is actually something, because those boys over there can do something on that defensive line. Watching them against the Chiefs, it was very evident. Oh, those boys are nasty and tough. right?
Yeah.
And those are the words that you would use if you were looking at the Texans, talking to them in training camp, what they wanted from this offensive line. I want to see if you are also nasty and tough. Let me see it.
And I also think this is a nobody's talking about, and I want to ask him about it a little later on in the week. Jalen Reed, he's your starting safety now. I'm sure that him and Tyler Warren have had some battles like in practice.
Yeah.
Like I am 100% certain that whether they've had to get separated, whether there's got to be some sort of competitiveness there between those two guys. So I kind of want to ask him about that, what his thoughts are, because I am sure that they have probably wanted to hit each other a little bit more than they're allowed to, and they're finally going to be able to do it. So that's another one that I'm kind of just nerdy ass, like behind the scenes.
That's a good one, Landry. That's a good one.
I'm very interested to see if the Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter show continues on the road, because the 2 games prior to this Chiefs game, Daniel Jones didn't get sacked yesterday. He got pressured a couple of different times, and he was running for his life a few times, but he didn't get sacked. But the 2 games before that, 2 defenses that are not as savvy at getting to the quarterback as the Texans put it on the Indianapolis Colts. Atlanta had 7 sacks against them and forced them to overtime. Pittsburgh had 5 sacks against them. And it's like, okay, if those teams get to Daniel Jones, the Texans are surely getting to Daniel Jones. And so, like, let's see what that vaunted Indianapolis offensive line that everybody just drools about week in and week out, let's see what they can do, both in opening things up for Jonathan Taylor, but also protecting Daniel Jones. They did a decent enough job and kept it pretty clean against the Chiefs, but still had some leaky moments. The Texans have got to be able to get after Daniel Jones and make him super uncomfortable.
Okay, so where are you guys at with this race right now then in the AFC South? While the Chiefs losing would have really helped solidify things in the wild card race, they didn't. They won. And so now the side benefit to that is you're a game closer in the division. I'll point out in 2023, after the Texans lost to the Jaguars in week 12 on the Matt Amendola boinker off of the crossbar to tie the game, after the records after that game was Jacksonville 8-3, Texans 6-5, with the Colts also 6-5 at that point with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. So we're in a similar situation. I mean, the only difference record-wise is that the 6-5 team tied with the Texans back then is now 7-4, and Indy and Jacksonville are, you know, they've switched roles in this thing here. But you're the same margin back that you were 2 years ago when you won the division. Granted, there was a monumental collapse by Jacksonville to help facilitate that. But the Colts have a schedule that is set up for a monumental collapse. These last 6 games, it's 2 Jacksonville, 2 Houston, and then San Francisco and Seattle, which, I mean, those are all teams that are above the line of being good teams. Not all great teams, but they're all good teams. So there's a trend and a record and a momentum for Indianapolis to very much come back to the pack here. The difference, I guess, is you got Jacksonville kind of sitting in between the two, and their schedule is super easy. Their schedule is, you know, they would have to lose one of the Jets or the 2 Titans games to not win double-digit games this season. They're capable of doing that. They probably should have lost to Arizona yesterday. But how are you guys feeling about the overall race right now? Are you feeling like, okay, we're back in this thing in the division, or is it wild card or bust or somewhere in between?
Can I answer in a week? I mean, that it really just comes down to this Sunday. I'm not trying to be trite. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. It really just comes down to this Sunday. Like you either play your way into possibly winning the division and staying afloat the wild card, and perhaps a week from now we feel better about the wild card stuff. Like maybe Dallas gets Kansas City or something. Like maybe something happens to help you out. But like, if you lose this game Sunday, you're pretty much out of the division. Like if we're being honest with each other,
100%.
Yeah, you're
100%.
pretty much out of the division, and then you start looking at Jacksonville and how easy they have things. So I think when it comes to the division, you're obviously in control of your own destiny, but it's a tough path in order to control that destiny. But if you lose, you're out of it. So I guess I'll say they're in it because they have a chance to win on Sunday. But am I overly confident that that's going to happen? Not really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all depends on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it's viable. Like, it's in a place where I'm like, oh, okay, I can see it, right? Like, I can see through the end of it. And thankfully, I guess, fittingly, we got Thanksgiving coming up because it depends on who all is going to actually cook. I mean, I feel like the defense is on turkey and ham duty, and those things are going to be fantastic. Yeah. I'm not talking about me. In fact, I might be the defense right now, baby, or the offense right now, baby. Like, I'm on mac and cheese and stuffing duty. Is that going to be any good? That is the question that we're asking ourselves. Like, is the offense going to come out and look like a viable offense, or are they going to wilt under the pressure of these circumstances? Because if they are, that's a lot to ask of the defense to carry you over, as you've stated, a lot of good teams here. It's going to need to be the offense coming through. And let's be honest, I know that we all we're asking the special teams to do is bring the cranberry sauce, but they look like they be forgetting. You know what I mean? So like,
oh yeah,
right. Like who all is going to actually bring something to the metaphorical table here to make sure that this team can eat?
They've actually been bringing cranberry sauce because cranberry sauce sucks.
Oh,
So
get the hell out of here, man.
That's what they've been bringing.
Ain't no way.
Reggie.
No wonder your Christmas tree is already up. No wonder your Christmas tree already up.
They've been bringing cranberry sauce.
Unbelievable.
When it comes to the division, Landry said it, this game this weekend matters. You can go 5-1, lose to KC, win the rest of the games, and you win the division. Obviously, if you win out, unlikely but possible, if you win out, you're going to win the division, and you might even be in a conversation for one of the 2 best or 3 best records in the AFC. But any designs on the division and really some important games, like you can't afford to slip against the Colts more than once, and you certainly can't afford to slip against the Colts and the Chiefs if you want to have any designs on the playoffs, because tiebreakers and AFC record and common opponents and all that kind of crap's going to matter if you're a 10-win team and there's 2, 3, 4 other 10-win teams, and you're all looking around at each other, pointing the finger at each other, going, who's making the playoffs? Like, these tiebreaker scenarios, when you're involving more than just a head-to-head matchup, it gets very complicated, and most of the time you're going to end up screwed if you don't take care of your business. But the division, it's on because the Chiefs gave you the window. If you don't get through the window this weekend, don't worry about the division. Get back to the wild card.
Yeah, one of the things that's also we cannot forget, we're making this a 2-team race. Even though the Jags are some dopes, the rest of their schedule is, relatively breezy. You know what I mean? So like, if you're not careful, you might do all this fighting with the Colts only to see the Jags swoop in and take that thing. So yeah, man, it's tight.
Yep. All right, let's talk about PrizePicks, Cody. PrizePicks. Let's get the people a way to put some money in their pocket for the holiday season here.
I like that, Sean. Let's take a look at last week's entry. Oh, no. What did we do here?
Oh, my God.
Oh, no. The only person that got it right last week was me.
Oh, wow. As if you didn't know this was coming.
We've been doing PrizePicks for a few weeks, and you didn't put up this is the first week you've done this.
Oh, man, look at the entry from last week. Wow, we were so close, except for you guys didn't do anything to help out the people.
I want it noted, though, of the people who did not come prepared, I was the closest to actually coming prepared. I was only, 2.5 yards off? I was close.
Not horseshoes, not hand grenades. Almost doesn't count, Reggie.
I thought I was set. They gave it to Chubb like 3 times in the first quarter. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be laughing. Nope, 16 yards.
PrizePicks is daily fantasy, and you're just making a couple of predictions. You're putting them together, from pass yards to touchdowns to rush yards to even field goal situations, more or less in various situations. The Texans game, not a lot of options up just yet. That will populate throughout the rest of the week. So we'll put it on the YouTube community page. We'll each have a pick and put it together here in a PrizePicks entry so you can follow along. Like the PrizePicks folks, they know CJ Stroud's going to be back in there, and they know that he's had some impressive performances in the Colts stadium. So you're just putting more or less, and use that code Texans. When you get signed up, you're going to play your first 5, you get $50 headed your way, thanks to our friends at PrizePicks. So when you get signed up, use the code Texans, play your first 5, you'll get 50 headed your way, thanks to our friends at PrizePicks. So there you go.
Awesome. Did we have some of the comments we wanted to get?
Yes. So the folks decided to send in some super chats. Like Nomad Scott says, always enjoy a Victory Monday. Happy Thanksgiving to y'all and the fam. And he followed it up with, happy Thanksgiving to Landry and the fam, to Stoots and Mama Stoots, to Sean and Amy, and to Reggie and the hose.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I'll make sure to relay that to the hose, 100%.
Okay. Well, we actually have a studio audience here at my house. That's my older son, James, laying on the couch. After 4 pieces of Star Pizza, he's laying on the couch back there.
Good taste.
Yeah.
Good man.
There you go. There you go. Teeman's also weighed in on Super Chat. He says, Chiefs don't have a defense close to the Texans, and they completely shut down the Colts in the 4th. We could do that as well. I will say my thought process after Buffalo and certainly watching some of these other teams is Well, if the Texans could do that to Josh Allen, why can't they do that to insert rest of the teams that are left on the schedule?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I do think the Chiefs defense did a good job of knuckling up against the Colts. I don't think it's like a terrible defense. I also think obviously they're the Chiefs, so they just don't really go away. But yeah, I mean the Texans can make any offense look bad. I think that we all agree with that. It's just that goes back to the cooking, all that, the complimentary football. Like, are you going to be an obstacle or are you going to be a compliment? Yep. And that's really what's going to matter, because we know the defense will be ready to go. Just hopefully you don't ask him to bring too much. Like, somebody brings something. Frank Ross, by the way, too. He's getting a free pass. Frank Ross, brother.
Not getting a free pass with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, Frank's got some he's been bad ever since he tried to mansplain the Jalen Noel Barrios thing to me. He's gone from hey, I said, Frank, I tried to tell him the other day, hey, Frank, you have Sunday off, go to all 3 services in the morning and you might have your karma gone. Ever since he tried to unnecessarily mansplain to one of his boys, they've gone from second in special teams in DVOA to now they're 18th. So, hey, I don't make the rules here, Frank. I don't make the rules here, Frank.
Landry's sending the guy to triple mass to get out from underneath the curse, man.
I think Landry and Frank Ross should break the special teams curse by having Frank Ross give Landry a haircut.
Ooh.
Oh.
He might whiff and cut my ear with how they tackle him.
Wow. Well, at least there's going to be one lane that's unaccounted for. I'll tell you that for damn sure. I appreciate you throwing some DVOA out there too. That was nice. I like that. Talking about like Kansas City's defense, and obviously we all feel good after that Thursday night game. Have they exercised the demons of letting a big play happen when you need it the most? Do we feel like that's the case?
Oh, God. I'll say yes because they won. But, God, man, the most frustrating thing for me watching that is, number one, that was Stingley's fault on the lateral. There's no doubt about it. And D'Amico Ryans even went out of his way to say, because they said, did that surprise you? Said, no, we've seen them do that. So that was like that. They clearly were prepared to do that. The thing for me is I was really going to go over the top if they did lose that game to not blame the defense. And that's what I was happy for, because all that would have been talked about would be, oh, they gave up the 4th down and the 3rd down. And I'm just like, man, they had 8 sacks. They made Josh Allen look pedestrian and so on and so forth. So they are vulnerable in that area, Reggie, but I think the fact that they were able to overcome it, I'll say that the demons are gone. And the thing that I enjoy the most is we don't have to hear any criticism of that type of effort on defense.
Well, and we're not subjected to, because they won that game, we're not subjected to what inevitably we would have seen on Twitter within minutes after the game, which is previously the record of teams that sacked the quarterback 8 times, allowed this 3rd down conversion percentage, had plus whatever, plus 3 in the turnover margin.
Yeah.
The record of those teams in this situation is 682-2. Yeah. Now it's 682-3. I swear to Christ, the Texans have had like 6 games like that since the Green Bay game, the middle of last year.
Ironically, the last time they had that many sacks was one of those games, and they lost that game to the Tennessee Titans.
I can tell you chapter and verse what it was. It was 8 sacks and a pick 6. The record of teams who had 8 sacks and a pick 6 in a game since like the merger was 36-3 or something like that, and now it's 36-4 because of Will fucking Levis. So yeah, dude.
For those at home, I think we hit the over on the first Sean F-bomb, but
yeah.
I thought it had got here earlier, but maybe after a good game.
I'm not getting canceled, am I? Right?
No, I think you're good.
All right, good.
I'll be the bad guy. I hear you, Landry, and you're right. Like, I always feel bad banging on the defense at all, because they are clearly, again, the ones who are putting in the most. The problem is The dude in charge of the defense is the dude in charge of the team, and they seemingly willingly went and built this team to be like this, to where there's a lot of stress on the defense. Right. If that's going to be the case, the times when you need it the most, I need that defense to come through. I am with you. I feel like, all right, y'all did it. Cool. Don't let this happen no more. I can't tell you that I'm super confident that you won't have those moments. And again, the margins get thinner when you're playing against the Colts and the Chiefs. Yeah,
and I do agree with you. And I don't think the middle of that defense has been as exposed as it possibly could be. And a lot of that speaks to what's going on the side and what's going on the edge. But yeah, I am with you. It's just, man, like, let's try to survive a little bit here but yeah, the way that went down was tough to watch.
One more comment I want to get here from a super chat from Tiemann. He was saying about Davis Mills. Mills is a worse quarterback, but tougher than CJ, which is a big advantage. We're doing toughness rankings now between the quarterbacks.
Is there like a diamond scale that we're using? I don't know what the quarterback toughness meter is ranked on.
I don't. Yeah, does it mean physically tough, mentally tough? I don't know if I agree with either on those.
Didn't you see he cried that one time?
I would say that Davis Mills' mentality of blankness is a positive compared to the roller coaster emotions of CJ, though.
Yeah, I think they're both physically tough. I mean, Davis Mills took some beatings the first 2 years, and I think CJ's taken some beatings, and he keeps coming back. So I think they're both physically tough. Yeah, I think Davis Mills has probably maybe a capacity to flush things and move on to the next play, maybe a little bit more. I don't know.
I hope that's one of the things CJ takes from him.
Yeah,
the stoic nature.
Yes, stoicism, absolutely. Are we making predictions on the Colts game here, or have you guys started thinking about that yet, or what are we doing here?
It's tough, man. I know Cody's going to pick the Texans, so go ahead.
Here we go. Here you're doing this shit again.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I am picking the Texans. They're going to go to Indianapolis, and they're going to hump Daniel Jones up and down the field. Will Anderson's going to get 2, and Danielle Hunter's going to get 2, and Tommy Togiai is going to get another sack, and throw up the S, baby.
Oh, okay. See, he got there.
Look at that.
Too hard. Didn't have to twist his arm or anything.
I just can't wait to watch them hump Daniel Jones up and down the field. That's going to be something. It's going to be something.
I'm gonna. I got to pick the Colts, man. I just don't. I do not have faith in this offense, and it's a shame that I don't, because there's so much potential on this team. But I'm going to take the Colts. Although I do think it would not shock me if the Texans win. But if you ask me right now, who do I think wins this game? I'm going to go with the Colts.
I will go with the Texans against some of my better judgment. I do think that the Colts secondary is a little bit less stellar than that front actually is. The problem is the Texans, in order to win this game, were able to run the damn ball. Not sure if that's going to be available to you, but does feel like the advancement of some of the other guys, Christian Kirk actually against the catches. I don't know how much of that was him actually, or just being booty butt naked open. But hey, maybe he likes the taste of actually catching the football. Who knows? But yeah, like I feel like you get some of that, you get some Higgins, and you get some CJ back in here with hopefully a chip on his shoulder and an opportunity to prove people like some of these folks in the text right now that he is indeed the quarterback of this team. And maybe it's not them. Maybe it's just proven to the people that are going to ultimately determine what his paycheck is going to be, that he needs to get that big ass paycheck. But ultimately, I think that all those things come together and they have motivation and inspiration to be a better version of their offense. The defense is going to show up, boom, get a victory.
Texans will not let this season die. Kymie Fairbairn, last second field goal. Texans win this game.
I hope you're all right. Big time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right, boys. Well, I got to take numbnuts to the airport here, so so we're gonna call it a night. Where can they find everybody over the next several days here?
Locker room tonight, 10:30. SNL Monday through Friday, 4. And that's pretty much it at NRG every day this week except Tuesday and Thursday. Gonna be fun.
Thanksgiving SNL, hell yeah, man, love it. I will be on a couch somewhere, but up until then, it'll be obviously in the loop 10 to 2 Monday through Wednesday, and then check out these fellas for sure.
Yeah. Houston Football on YouTube, Houston Football, the newsletter /site, and SNL with Landry as well.
There you go. All right, you guys do a great job covering stuff from the Texans locker room as well. So give everybody a follow on social media as well for the best in Texans coverage. I'll be back at 6 a.m. tomorrow on Payne and Pendergast, and all this week other than Thursday. I will be in on Friday this week. So, God, it's Colts week, man. Got to be in there on Friday doing the thing. So. Yep. So that'll be so this should be a fun week, man. Hell week. It's called at the Colts, and so we're psyched for next Monday. Hopefully, a victorious Texans Collective next Monday here on YouTube. A reminder to give us a like, give us a subscribe if you haven't already. We really appreciate that. Tell a friend about it. Tell your Texans friends about it. We're here by and large on Mondays at 6 p.m. and that's where we'll be back here Monday at 6 p.m. Next week following the Texans and the Colts. On Sunday, November 30th. You can hear that game on Sports Radio 610. Kickoff is at noon. Texans Countdown, 9 a.m. with me and Seth Payne, and then Clint Sterner and I have you for post-game following the game all the way up until Sunday Night Football. So until then, a very, very happy Thanksgiving to all you boys, and a very happy Thanksgiving to all of you listening, everybody in the chat, everybody who was in here tonight. We really appreciate all of you. Enjoy the holiday, and we will see you all next Monday. End stream.